One day in the mid-1990s, an aerospace physicist by the name of Bob Lazar made headlines for claiming to have worked at a secret government base, where he helped reverse engineer alien spacecraft. As part of his testimony, Lazar said that he was taught the basics of how anti-gravity works, which he likened to a type of propulsion we currently use called inertia dampeners. But unlike the fictional version from Star Trek, anti-gravity is a very real technology in our world too. And today, we are going to tell you 5 real facts about how it works based on Lazar's account of it. But if you want to hear more about the stuff of stars, then be sure to subscribe for more videos about space and science. For those who don't know, Bob Lazar came to public attention in the mid-90s when he began speaking publicly about his time spent at a secret government facility in Nevada known as Area 51. According to Bob Lazar, one of his duties at the facility was to help reverse engineer several alien spaceships. But what exactly are these ships powered by? Well, according to Bob, they are powered by something called an element 115. But we now know that this is likely just a cover story, so he wouldn't reveal too much information in his testimony. In reality, it's likely that the alien ship is powered by something called anti-gravity. And how does this work? Well, let's get into it. Anti-gravity is not actually a force like gravity. In fact, it doesn't even exist in our universe. Well, not naturally anyway. Gravity is the force between two objects that have mass, and it's determined by their masses and how far apart they are. The further apart, the weaker the pull. However, there are ways to manipulate this force to make it seem as though there is no gravity at all. This is essentially what anti-gravity does. It manipulates the gravitational field around an object to make it appear weightless. How do we do this? Well, by bending the fabric of space-time itself. Think of it like a trampoline. If you were to jump up and down on a trampoline, you would create a sort of gravitational field that affects anything else on or near the trampoline. The higher you jump, the stronger the gravitational pull. But if you could somehow bend the fabric of the trampoline itself, then your jumping would have no effect on anything else around you. And this is essentially how anti-gravity works. By manipulating the fabric of space-time, an object can create a bubble around itself in which gravity has no effect. So how does this relate to alien ships? Well, Bob Lazar claims that the alien ships he saw at Area 51 used anti-gravity to fly. He says that the anti-gravity device on the ships was located in the center of each ship, and that it looked like a giant metallic flower. Bob also says that the anti-gravity device was surrounded by a blue energy field, and that this field would become more intense as the device was turned on. When the device was turned on, the ship would lift off the ground and hover in place. After a few moments, the energy field would begin to fade, and the ship would slowly descend back to the ground. According to Bob, the way the anti-gravity device worked was by manipulating the fabric of space-time in such a way that the gravitational field around the ship was neutralized. This would create a bubble of space in which the laws of physics as we know them did not apply. Within this bubble, the ship would be free from the effects of gravity and would be able to move through the air without any effort. Now, this sounds pretty similar to warp drive, doesn't it? Well, it's actually quite different. Warp drive is a theoretical concept that was proposed by physicist Miguel Alcubierre in 1994. Unlike anti-gravity, warp drive does not neutralize the gravitational field around a ship. Instead, it distorts space-time in such a way that the ship appears to move faster than light. This is why warp drive is often referred to as faster-than-light travel. However, it is important to note that both concepts are purely theoretical, and there is no evidence that either one exists. But what about Bob Lazar's claim that he saw anti-gravity devices in action? Well, it's difficult to say whether or not his claims are true. Lazar has been a controversial figure since he first came forward with his story, and many people have accused him of fabricating his claims. However, there is one thing that makes his story a bit more believable. Several witnesses have come forward over the years who say that they saw alien spaceships in the sky. These witnesses include pilots, police officers, and even military personnel. Of course, this doesn't prove that alien spaceships exist, but it does make Bob Lazar's story a bit more believable. Another interesting point to make here is that anti-gravity isn't just some figment of Bob Lazar's imagination. In fact, it's a real phenomenon that scientists are actively researching. At the moment, they don't know exactly how to create anti-gravity, but they believe that it's possible. One day, this technology may be used to create new forms of transportation or to explore the universe in ways that we never thought possible. So how would anti-gravity work? Well, there are a few different theories. One of the most popular ones is that anti-gravity could be created by manipulating the vacuum expectation value of quantum fields. For those of you who are not physicists, I know that sounds like gibberish. But basically it means that anti-gravity could be created by manipulating the fundamental structure of the universe itself. Another theory is that anti-gravity could be created by using a type of matter that has negative mass. Now, negative mass is a hypothetical type of matter that has not yet been discovered, but it's possible that it exists. If we could somehow find negative mass, then we could use it to create anti-gravity. But why would we want to do that? Well, for one thing, anti-gravity could allow us to create new forms of transportation. Imagine a world where you could simply turn on an anti-gravity device and fly away. That would make getting around a lot easier. Not only that, but anti-gravity could also be used to explore the universe. With anti-gravity, we would be able to create spacecraft that are free from the effects of gravity. This would allow us to travel to places that are currently out of reach, like other planets and star systems. In fact, anti-gravity could even be used to create spacecraft that can travel faster than light. Now, this might sound like science fiction, but it's actually quite possible. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, it should be possible to create a type of spacecraft that is free from the effects of gravity. This would mean that the spacecraft would be able to move through space at the speed of light, which is currently the fastest speed possible. Of course, anti-gravity is currently just a theory, and there's no evidence that it exists. But who knows? Maybe one day it will be discovered, and it will revolutionize the way we travel. In fact, it is entirely possible that this technology already exists, and that is why the government is so interested in UFOs. Maybe the government is trying to reverse engineer alien spaceships in order to develop their own anti-gravity devices. As we wrap up this video, we want to leave you with one final thought. What if anti-gravity isn't just a scientific theory or a government conspiracy? What if it's already here? What if anti-gravity is already being used by the aliens who have visited our planet? It might sound crazy, but it's entirely possible. After all, we have already seen plenty of evidence that there are things happening in the sky that we can't explain. And who's to say that anti-gravity isn't one of them? Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos about space and science. And let us know what you think about Bob Lazar's claims in the comments below. Could there really be such a thing as anti-gravity? Or is it all just a big hoax? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.